Welcome to our YouTube channel. In today's episode, we'll make cheese. Now, the options in the supermarket that you get for cream cheese, they are not very tasty. If you are like me, you wish there was an alternative, and there is. It is called Gervais, and it is made in beautiful France. That was weird. Anyway, in Europe, Gervais is readily available, but here in the US, I haven't found it yet. So I was very happy that I discovered a recipe in this book, which is a little bit of a Bible for new cheesemakers, and it is called Ricky Carroll's Home Cheesemaking. Now let's go to the ingredients. As always, I bought all the ingredients and every piece of equipment myself, and there is no company sponsoring me. Now for making cheese, of course, we need milk, and we need whole milk, and it needs to be pasteurized, not ultra pasteurized. Ultra pasteurized milk is heated to high temperatures, which gives it a stable shelf life, but makes it unusable for cheese making. I'm using Trader Joe's whole milk, and I had very good experiences getting a good curd with it. We need 2 2/3 cups of whole pasteurized milk. We also need heavy cream, again pasteurized, and we need 1 1/3 cups. For cheese cultures, I'm using a mesophilic cheese culture which I ordered from the New England Cheesemaking Company. It comes in batches of 5 envelopes, and we'll use 1 envelope for our recipe. Last but not least, we need to coagulate the milk. We'll use rennet, and we'll use only 1 drop diluted in 2 tablespoons of non-chlorinated water. Now let's look at the equipment. Now as far as equipment goes, of course we'll need a pot. The pot has to be enameled or stainless steel so that it doesn't react with the milk. This pot is much too big for our purposes, but we'll make do. Then you need a thermometer, of course, and for draining the curds, I use a nut milk bag. I ordered this from Amazon, and the best thing about it is reusable. You also can use butter muslin to drain the curds, but since the curds are semi-liquid, I would double up on it. The final phase will be pressing the cheese, and for that you'll need a mold. This mold comes from the New England Cheesemaking Company. They sell it with their basic cheese kits, but they also sell it separately, and you need a follower that goes on top of the cheese. I will line the mold with cotton muslin. You can buy that at any fabric store, and of course it is reusable when you wash it. Now technically, you don't need a cheese press. But if you make a lot of cheese, you won't get around to buying one. However, for our purposes, you only need to exert 15 to 20 pounds of pressure, and a lot of items in your household will do the trick. Now let's make some Gervais. For the first step, we combine the milk and the cream in the pot. We now have to heat the milk to 86 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the ideal temperature for the cultures to work. We have 2 choices here. We can heat it in a water bath, which is more gentle, or we can heat it on the stove over direct heat. And for this small of an amount, I'll choose the stove. However, I have to keep the flame very low, and I have to stir constantly to avoid hot spots in the milk. Milk is now at 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and we are ready to add the cultures. we'll cut open this little envelope and sprinkle the cultures over the surface of the milk and stir them in. After stirring in the cultures, we'll add the rennet to coagulate the milk. We'll add 1 drop of rennet to 2 tablespoons of non-chlorinated water, mix it up a bit, and then add this to the milk, stirring it in very well. The pot now needs to sit undisturbed for 24 hours. It has now been 24 hours and the cultures and the rennet have done their work. Now when you lift the lid, you notice a sour smell. This is because the cultures have acidified the milk. When you look at the milk, you can see that it doesn't move or moves very little. That is because it is coagulated. Now we will transfer the curds from the pot into the nut milk bag. I have the nut milk bag sitting in a bowl because some of the curds will come out and I can just put them right back on top. When you're done transferring the curds, do yourself a favor and lick the spoon. You'll already find out how delicious it is and you will think you're in France. I have to find out where this is coming from. Now that that's taken care of, I'll hang the bag at room temperature for 4 to 6 hours so that the whey can separate from the curd and drain off. Don't forget to put a pot or a drip pan under the bag. The curds have now drained for 5 hours and have shed a decent amount of whey. What's left in the bag is pretty solid and we'll transfer it to the press. Heads up, the next step is going to be a little bit messy. So before you move on, wash your hands. I now have here the bag with the curds and my mold, and I'll line the mold with the cotton muslin. And the best way I've found to transfer the curds is to turn the bag inside out and scrape it with a spatula. So I'll take the bag here and turn it inside out. That will take care of most of the curds. And then we'll scrape the bag with the spatula to get out all the cheesy goodness, all the curds into the mold. As you can see, the curds are not semi-liquid anymore. They have become almost the consistency of soft cream cheese. The curds look pretty good already, but they have to solidify a little bit more. This is where the cheese press comes in. So I fold the cloth over the mold and I put the follower on top. and put the entire setup into the cheese press. I put a weight on it that exerts about 15 pounds of pressure, and I will leave it in there for 6 hours. And at the end, we'll have Gervais. We are almost done. The Gervais has been sitting in the press for 6 hours and has lost a lot of liquid. There are 2 more steps left, salting and putting it in the fridge. Now let's see what our Gervais looks like. As you can see, it now has the consistency of cream cheese. I'll transfer it to a mixing container, and then I'll add some salt. Use plain salt without iodine, and make sure that you don't use too much. Add a little bit of salt, mix it in, taste it, and then add a little bit more. You don't want to use too much salt because you don't want to mask the tart and cheesy flavor. You just want to enhance it. At this point, you can add some herbs or chives. I personally prefer my Gervais plain. So I put on the lid and I put it in the fridge, and tomorrow it will be ready for breakfast. Good morning! After a good night's sleep, we are ready for breakfast. Let's have some Gervais. I've taken it out of the fridge and it has solidified a little bit more, and the flavors have blended and are even better than yesterday. Let's try it on some bread. You can see easily how beautiful and softly the Gervais spreads right out of the fridge. That looks delicious. That is so good. I wish you could taste how good that is. How delicious. And if you make Gervais, you can. Now the entire video was filmed by my patient wife Diana. Come honey, get some of the Gervais. It's really good.
You bet. This is the best part.
Here you go.
So good.
Diana loves my Gervais. And I love making Gervais for her because it gets me out of doing the dishes.
Seriously?
Or not. Well, anyway, thank you for watching this video and happy cheese making. I can't get enough of that.
I know.
I have to make another batch soon.
Me either, seriously. Like today?
Yeah, good idea. Seriously?